This might be a crazy way to start the video, but I feel like the only way that I can convey why The Walking Dead is my favorite story of all time is to spoil the last issue, is to just straight up spoil the whole thing. So if you haven't read The Walking Dead, skip ahead or watch another one of our, or you're fucked. You're probably just fucked. Here we go. This is like the final 4 pages of the final issue of The Walking Dead. Um, I'm just gonna read it verbatim and then go from there. This is not a scary story. This is a story about hope. One day, a long time ago, dead people decided they didn't want to be dead anymore. Nobody knew what was happening or why, but life changed. Everyone was tested. That's why this time came to be called the trials. It was a scary time, and many good, strong people lost themselves along the way. They started to forget who they were. They even started to forget what was good and what was bad. They only worried about living. There was no time to follow the rules. A great darkness fell across the whole world. It made everyone sad. People didn't know if things would ever get back to normal. Most people were sure it never would, and they got sadder and meaner. When things were at their darkest, a man came along, someone who had been hurt by the trials, but he didn't let it make him sad. Not all the time, at least, and we all know it's okay to be sad sometimes. Rick Grimes had an idea. He knew that if we stayed together and made friends instead of enemies, we could do anything, even remake the world. He made friends and lost friends as he moved across the country. He met people he thought would be friends, but turned out to be bad. He sometimes had to hurt bad people to protect his friends. Sometimes he was scared that he was becoming the bad person. But he never did. And he taught other people how to not let the trials turn them into bad people. He even met bad people and turned them into friends. Rick traveled far and wide, always bringing his friends with him, and they made him stronger. They made him safe. And he taught people how to make friends and use them to make them stronger and safer. The trials made people so angry that some of them just wanted to fight, but Rick knew this was wrong. He showed them how to be friends instead. The trials were dangerous times, and even Rick didn't survive them. But he was able to show us the way. With his teachings, the trials ended, and life returned to normal. We even have ice cream again. People are happy instead of sad, and safe instead of scared, and nice instead of mean, all because someone was strong enough to do what was right. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're there and you're safe because of Rick Grimes. You really would have liked him. Who? Your grandfather. He did all those things. My father, your grandfather, Rick Grimes. This book is about him. I know, Dad, you tell me that every time. Read it again. And then the final 2 pages of The Walking Dead is a grown up Carl Grimes with his daughter reading her the story of how Rick Grimes saved him, saved his friends, rebuilt the world, and made it a better place. Like, oh my God, I'm getting fucking emotional. Every time I read that ending, I lose it, man. The power of stories, dude. The Walking Dead is a story about Rick Grimes, sure. One of my favorite characters of all time. If he's not in my top 5, then he is always in the 6th place. Sometimes he makes his way into the top 5, depending on how I'm feeling. But what that issue highlights is that The Walking Dead is a story about hope in the face of adversity, in the face of zombies ripping people's flesh apart, in the face of maniacs with baseball bats beating people to death to make a point. It's a story about perseverance and hope and the next generation. I mean, like, I've lost count of how many times we've seen the story of a guy who has to lead like a kid across a wasteland or an apocalypse scenario to like a better place. I mean, it's The Last of Us, it's Logan, it's The Walking Dead. It's like every fucking story where the world is shit. This is the story that they tell. But I mean, The Walking Dead, I think, is the best version of that story ever written, probably because it's over 190 issues long. I mean, the last time I read The Walking Dead, I probably read it in like 3 or 4 weeks, but still, that is 15 years of story about how one man changed the world single-handedly. Pun. You fucking bet that was intended. I don't know if necessarily this is the video where I want to go into like every story arc of The Walking Dead. Like I feel I could do it. And if people are interested in that, I'd be happy to do that one day. But this video is mainly just going to be about Rick Grimes as a character at the center of this story, how his arc evolves, what it means for the story, and how it, ends up being what I think is the best story in all of fiction. And we'll also dive into the TV adaptation because I just watched all 11 seasons of The Walking Dead along with the sequel spin-off series The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live. Dude, I love the spin-off names because like The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live makes total sense. Rick and Michonne say we're the ones who live all the time in the show. And by the end of it, I was like, you know what? I like it. It suits. And then there's like The Walking Dead, Dead City. Whose idea was it to put dead, colon, dead? Like, why would you do The Walking Dead, Dead City? The Walking Dead, Dead City? Like, it's so bizarre. And then I love that, like, Daryl gets his own show, but it's just The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. He's so marketable. And that motherfucker isn't in any of these. They made him up. They made him up for the show. And he's like, Daryl Dixon is the best comic book character that never existed in comic book. It blows my mind. Before I sort of delve into the story and all the kind of similarities to the TV show, I kind of want to talk about like what my journey with The Walking Dead has been because like it was genuinely the first comic book I ever actually read. That's crazy for me to think about and say, but it was like end of season 2, start of season 3 of the show, and I was obsessed with the show. And so I started reading the comics. But I was like, as a kid, I was like 13, maybe. I don't know what the math on that is, but yeah, I was around that age and I genuinely just read like 80 issues of The Walking Dead on my phone, just antisocial as fuck. And I thought it was the best thing I'd ever read. And it was nuts because I talked about this in my Iron Man video, which go and watch that if you want to, I guess. But in that, I said, like, the first two comic books I ever read were Iron Man Extremis and The Walking Dead. And at the time, like, obviously, I loved Iron Man. I started getting into Iron Man. But, like, I read, like I said, probably 80 Walking Dead issues to, like, 6 issues of Iron Man. Like, it wasn't comparable fucking at all. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep reading. I'll read a little bit of Iron Man, but what the fuck is Rick Grimes up to? So once I caught up with that, I started reading The Walking Dead monthly, and I read it monthly, I think up until like halfway through the Whisperers arc, and then I dropped off a little bit, and then I picked it up again, and then I dropped off a little bit, and then I heard that Rick Grimes died, and I was like, what? He what? And then I called up only for the next issue to be the final issue of the story, and then it was done, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay. And I think everyone kind of felt that. I think everyone was shocked that it was just over. But also there's something to be said for how Robert Kirkman just like decided, you know what? I'm not going to drag this at all. It's done. And I think there are reasonable arguments for people saying like the Commonwealth arc is a little bit rushed, like the finale is sort of, oh, okay, there it is, it's done. And yet I'm still like, oh, I kind of think that was perfect though. I kind of think it's perfect though. Anyway, the story of The Walking Dead is about Rick Grimes waking up, the zombie apocalypse has swept the earth, and it's like a month in or like 5 weeks in, and he's just like, what happened? So he goes to find his family, and he does. And then, like, realistically, The Walking Dead is as simple as our group moves to a place either has zombies or people. They come into conflict with those zombies or people, and then they move on to the next place. And when you phrase it that way, it's like, okay, it sounds okay. And what's so good about it? It's the fact that the writing is the best writing that's ever been written. The Walking Dead is the single most transformative piece of media that has ever been created. You start the first issue as one person, you leave the final issue as a changed person. Your entire perception of life and fatherhood and trust and relationships, it genuinely will change your brain chemistry. Like when I read The Walking Dead or when I started reading The Walking Dead, I was a kid, right? And now, I mean, the last time I read it was probably 2 years ago. I was old enough that, like, man, I could be having kids in the next few years. What kind of father do I want to be? What kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of like example do I want to leave? What kind of life do I want to lead? All of these things popped up into my head because I watched a man in the zombie apocalypse do everything he could to save his son, save his family, save the people he cares about, and make a better world for them. And the thing is, The Walking Dead isn't a story about like, oh, at the end of this, there's a cure. No, The Walking Dead is a story about going through hell for the hope, for the possibility of a better world. And we don't just stumble across these things, we have to build them. And like, yeah, they stumble across the Commonwealth and all the politics going on there, but like, Rick Grimes still has to give his life to affect that change. And that's the entire point. We don't get anywhere by like letting things happen to us. People will always be at the top preying on those less advantaged and not giving a fuck. That's the entire point of the Commonwealth. The only way they can affect change is to fight, is to say, no, this isn't enough. This is not good enough. I mean, The Walking Dead isn't a superhero comic, but that's probably the most superhero comic sentiment you've ever heard in your life, is the fact that you have to fight to make the world a better place. And I love the fact that Rick Grimes isn't fighting to make the world a better place for himself. He's doing it for his son. He's doing it for his family. He's doing it for those he cares about. This might sound crazy, especially if you haven't read The Walking Dead. If you have, I think you will at least understand where I'm coming from, even if you don't agree. Rick Grimes, written by Robert Kirkman in the Walking Dead comic books, is the single greatest fictional character ever written. Is that a hot take? It doesn't feel like a hot take, but now that I've said it out loud, I feel like people are going to be like, what about like Star-Lord? And even just stepping aside from Rick for a second, like The Walking Dead as a story is like expertly crafted. I mean, so many of the characters you are incredibly invested in. So many of the stories like are either paced supremely well or just know when like, okay, we're done with this story, we need to move on. Sometimes the book slows down and it's literally just people talking for like 10 issues. And it's like the most interesting conversations you've ever read. Like, The Walking Dead rarely ever feels like it's wasting words. It's always trying to tell you something, or have the characters tell you something, or develop the story, or develop the characters, or develop the universe. And it just fuck it. It doesn't miss. This motherfucker don't miss. And also, Robert Kirkman absolutely fucking mastered the like comic book clickbait method, where you might read a Walking Dead issue and you've read 16 pages and you're like, yeah, I guess that was a pretty good issue. And then like the last 3 pages, something happens and you're like, whoa, what's going to happen here? And then the last page is like the craziest shit you've ever seen. And you're like, well, now I have to read the next fucking issue. And he does that for every issue. I swear to God, you'd read like 20 issues at a fucking time, and every time you'd be like, all right, I'll stop here and I'll go and do something with my life. And then the end happens and you're like, fuck my life. The Walking Dead's all that matters. It's just a fucking masterpiece. I can't put into work. You just have to read it and be like, oh, I get it now. Danny DeVito, I get it now. I talked a lot about comic book Rick Grimes and his fight and his struggle to secure a better future for his son. But what would a version of Rick Grimes be like if the person he was fighting to create a future for died? AMC's The Walking Dead. When I tell you I was obsessed with this show, I cannot put into words, man. When I was watching like season 3 of The Walking Dead and it was like Rick versus the governor, I was like, oh, I get it. This is the greatest thing ever made. That's probably why I ended up loving the comic so much as well. I mean, my interest in that show, I mean, it was peak The Walking Dead. Seasons 3 and 4, I still maintain are the best seasons of the show. And I continued watching The Walking Dead up until, actually, I know exactly when. It was season 7, episode 8. We were halfway through the season that introduced Negan and all the bullshit going on there. And I remember being like, I've read this story and I liked it more when I read it. And so I dropped off The Walking Dead for the rest of season 7 and season 8. And I only started rewatching again when I found out that season 9 would be Andrew Lincoln's final season on the show and that Rick was leaving, which I think is fair because there are a lot of great actors in The Walking Dead. There are some really underrated performances. A lot of the people on that show are giving performances that are way better than the show that they're in sometimes. But Andrew Lincoln as Rick Grimes is on another fucking planet. That guy is up there with RDJ as Tony Stark, with Charlie Cox as Daredevil. The insert person who plays the best version of that character ever. Here, he's that. He's Hugh Jackman Wolverine. He's David Corenswet Superman. Whatever. All of that. Like, he's the guy. Like, he is that guy. He's the best. And so, yeah, I watched the first 5 episodes of season 9 and Rick left the show and I was like, yeah, I'm out. That was it. And I only watched the show in full about a week ago. I finished it a week ago. I watched the rest of season 9, 10, and 11. I mean, I watched it from the start. My girlfriend and I watched it episode 1 of season 1 all the way up to episode 24 of season 11. What are we doing? And then obviously watch The Ones Who Live, which I fucking love. I like same argument that people have for the end of the comic book series. It rushes through the finale in a few spots, but also I'm kind of glad it does because I would rather get a wrap up to that story than drag that shit out for three more fucking seasons and have it be terrible. But yeah, Andrew Lincoln in The Walking Dead as Rick Grimes, I think is fucking phenomenal. He conveys every like attribute and characteristic of Rick Grimes that I love. It's just unfortunate that the biggest driving force for Rick as a character is ripped from him in that show. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this at this point, so it's not surprising. But they kill Carl. Coral. Stop acting like you know the way ahead, like you know the rules. There are no rules, man. We're lost. This isn't me how. Yeah, in season 8, Carl gets bit and he dies. And it's genuinely a sad episode and a really good episode. The first half of season 8 is fucking all over the place. It's definitely the worst season. I don't think it's terrible. I gave it a 6 out of 10 and I reviewed it on fucking Letterboxd and whatever. I think it's fine. I don't think it's terrible, but definitely some weird decisions, and killing Carl is one of them. And there is a massive like double-edged sword in terms of killing Carl in the TV show. Because like on one hand, insert Rick Grimes hand joke here. Like on one hand, you have killed the character that he's been fighting to build a future for the whole time. And like the comics, that is the story. He's building a future for Carl. Everything he does is for Carl. Every murder he commits, every shitty thing that he has to do, he does it for his son. And so like you kill Carl and then like Rick as a character just loses all direction. But then Rick losing all that sense of direction in the second half of season 8 and losing his way and kind of going rogue from like even what his people would want him to do in this war against Negan actually really reinvested me like in TV Rick Grimes because there is genuinely an arc there, and I think it is carried by Andrew Lincoln's performance. But watching this guy like lose everything that he fought for and then like realize that there's a better way to do things and that we need to still build the new world even if he's not building it for Carl. And then the season ends with like Rick giving this beautiful speech like he's talking to his son that's, he's now lost about like you were leading me to the new world and I wanted to build it for you and I was doing it for you, but like you believed in me to be a better person and like still keep going even though you're gone. It is phenomenal. I think it's incredible. I don't like that it comes at the expense of such a big like change from the comic books, but like it's really good. And then heading into season 9, I mean, Rick has Michonne, Rick and Michonne in the TV show, I think, the best power couple ever. I think it's the greatest change they ever made. Andrea in the TV show fucking sucks, and then she's fucking dead. And we all went, woo, she's dead, because no one fucking liked her. Don't even pretend like you did. And then Michonne fills that gap. And I mean, Michonne in her own right in the TV show is a million times better. She's so, like, again, it's the Walking Dead comics are my favorite story of all time. TV Michonne, way better. So much better. It's unbelievable, actually. But yeah, so Rick has her wife, and in the TV show, they don't kill Judith as a baby, which is spoilers for the Walking Dead comics, but that shit is grim. But Judith in the TV show is alive, and they develop that like relationship with her and Carl, and her, Carl, and Rick, and it feels like a family, and it feels like Rick still has something to fight for. And then, we get the time jump and we find out about RJ, who is a nothing character, but I like that Rick has his family out there. He's got Michonne, he's got Judith, he's got RJ. He has a reason to keep going. And so then when we get to The Ones Who Live and he finally finds Michonne, I mean, the dude is so cool in The Ones Who Live that he cuts off his own fucking hand to try and make it back to his family. Like, I see idiots online be like, why didn't he cut through the wire? Steel fucking wire. Are you for real? But like, even if he could cut through the wire, it's way more badass that he's like, I'm gonna literally cut off my fucking hand so that I can get back to my friend. That's so cool. I don't care. That's way cooler than the governor cutting it off. And like seeing the desperation in TV, Rick being like, no, the CRM, this militia force is so strong. I need to stay here to protect you, Michonne, and our kids and everyone back at Alexandria and stuff. Like, I need to stay here to protect them. Like, the desperation in this case, it's brilliant. Like, the way Rick is written in that show is brilliant. And then this is where I disagree with it being rushed, because ending the series with Rick and Michonne reuniting with their kids, and the final shot is like Rick embracing his family and actually getting a happy ending in contrast to like, the Walking Dead comics. I love that. I not only do I love that it's different because I can experience both versions of Rick Grimes' story. They're so different, they're so cool, and they both leave me with the same feeling, the same like hope for family, the same wanting to be a better person, the same like striving for the future and building a better world. Like I fucking love it, man. I like it makes me feel things and sometimes I cry. I love comic book Rick. I love TV Rick. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. Like just both of those, mush them together. There it is. There's the greatest character ever written. I just love it. And like, look, the comic books, they're the story that is the most complete, the most comprehensive, the most well written. The TV show, I think season one is pretty good. Season two, three, four, five, and six are great. I think they're awesome. Seven is good. Eight is yeah. Nine is great. 10 is pretty good. 11's pretty good. The Ones Who Live, I think, is great. So I don't think the Walking Dead TV show ever gets to a point where it's unwatchable. I mean, there's a couple episodes in there that are bad. I mean, there's an episode in season 10 where Carol just makes a stew. It was during like COVID. They did these COVID episodes. It's bad. It's really bad. And then the next episode is a Negan origin story. It's literally it's that. It's that story, sort of. It's that story. And it's like one of the best episodes ever. It's the most Walking Dead thing ever to go from like a 4 out of 10 episodes to like a 9 out of 10 the next week. I think that show generally is a really good adaptation. I like the differences in it. Do I wish it was shorter? Yeah. There's like changes that I would make to it? Definitely. But like on the whole, man, as a franchise, The Walking Dead and just Rick Grimes as a character and like the messaging around it all, like fucking I don't think there is a single thing in the world that has ever made me feel as hard. I don't think there's a single piece of media, is what I'm trying to say, that has made me feel as much as The Walking Dead has, that has made me kind of reevaluate myself as a person and what I'm fighting for and what I want to do in my life and what I want to be later in my life. I feel I kind of have to end this video the way I started it. I'm going to read Rick Grimes' speech from the third last issue of The Walking Dead, just because I think it's beautiful. I think it's poetic and I think it kind of sums up the character and this franchise. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. And here's my dramatic reading of Rick Grimes' speech. We don't want to fight. I can see that. Killing each other will only succeed in costing some of us our lives. I think we've all been through so much, too much. Let's not do that again. I've fallen in love with the Commonwealth. I've seen what you've accomplished here, and it is wondrous. I would fight to maintain it. I would kill to protect it. I would, and I have. So I understand why we're here right now. But I look around and I see fear and anger and hatred. That's not what this place is about. That's not who we are. This is who we are. This world has scarred us mentally and physically. We carry those scars with us each and every day. They serve as a reminder of what we've lived through, what we've done to survive, what others have done to survive. Sacrifices made all to get us here, to this point, to have so many of us here, to be safe, to be close to the way things were before. I used to think we had to put our humanity on hold, embrace a savageness in order to survive, because our world, the one we knew, was never coming back. I was wrong. We are on the road back. I can see our future ahead of us, and it is bright. We no longer live surrounded by the dead. We're not among them, not living on borrowed time. We do not live minute to minute in minutes stolen from the dead. We can be happy. We can be content. We can have peace. We can live again. We are not the Walking Dead. I love this motherfucker. But yeah, man, The Walking Dead is cool. And if you watch this video, you're cool. And I can't wait to talk about more of this shit in the future. Hopefully in some different kinds of videos, a little bit longer, a little bit less edited, kind of like a podcast. We should do a podcast. What a novel idea. Okay, well, that's it. I'll see you next time. But don't forget, we are the ones who